Well, thanks everyone for attending today. Realise you're all taking time out of your busy days to attend here with us. What I'd like to do is just introduce ourselves and also potentially just go around the room a little bit, and if everyone can just introduce themselves. I'd like just to get just some ideas about the interests of Office 365 around the room, and try and gear the presentation towards the interests that we have in the room. There's a few familiar faces in the room, and there's also an equal number of unfamiliar faces. For those of you that don't know me, you're probably admiring how thick my eyebrows are. I take after my father in that respect. But look, on a serious note, I'm the Managing Director of Excite IT. We have David Mew here, who's our General Manager at the back, and we also have Brett Fraser from Microsoft, who's also co-presenting today. There's also a few Excite IT employees here. If you guys can just put your hands up, if that's okay. So we've got Rajiv, a systems engineer at the back, Joseph, who is our head of delivery, and Sean, our cameraman today, who's our project manager. If I can just quickly go around the room, if you can each please just introduce yourself, just quickly, just name where you're from, and I guess one question or challenge that you have associated to Office 365. And if the only reason why you're here is just to find out a bit more about Office 365, that's totally fine as well. So if we can start with yourself, Murray, if that's all right.
So I'm Murray McLaughlin. I currently work with TCS, and I'm interested probably in what's going to be talked about in relation to security with Office 365. It's even something that I get asked a little bit about, so I'm hoping that's touched on.
Matt Bell from Decision Risks. We're a consultancy and risk advisory firm, and we have a lot of needs.
Okay. So just to find out how Office 365 can benefit your business ultimately, I guess. Yeah.
Richard Wood, work for the Law and Justice Foundation, a small statutory body in New South Wales, and interested in things like data storage, security, retention, adherence to privacy policies, etc. I might have a link, but
Hi, I'm Suranthi from Ghana. I was involved in rolling out Office 365 for our regional businesses in Southern Hemisphere and South Africa.
Okay.
So just came to find out. I was involved in just acquiring the licenses when they rolled it out. So just finding out more about the product.
Okay, so you guys have implemented, do you?
We have it.
That's great. Okay, all right, no problem.
Melissa Williams down on the project head.
Excellent.
Terry Stone, Director of IT Delivery down. We have done the rollout, and it's in our mining sites over in South America, so you can find out more about the product, and very interested in touch on security and data storage, etc. So I'm sure we'll help you.
Excellent.
Steve Rubin, Information Security Manager at Downer. So like Murray and others, there's a very much a security and data integrity type sort of aspect to what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fair bit of knowledge of 365 in my past.
I'm Jim Brown with a giant global company called Lorien Partners, basically two of us. I've done a little bit of research on this. What I'm interested in is Microsoft's response to iPhone 6 compatibility.
Okay.
Because they've got a pretty bad review on online, but they've got some good reviews as well.
Yeah.
Hazy Tobias, Principal HR Consultant for Lorien. I'm wearing two hats. We want to potentially get 365 because we've got so many peripherals, and also because I do outsource strategic HR consulting, I can also, with a client, have a hat on. So I really am straddling both small consulting, but also when I go into corporates, you know, with a view to that might be used to them as well.
Sure.
My name is Gabriel Goodman. I'm a week in as the IT manager at Ally Group. So just looking at how we can change things for the future. Mainly security, but also with file sharing and working together on files,
Okay.
screen sharing, all that sort of stuff. Since we have 2 sites.
Yeah. Sorry, going back to Hasty, how do I summarise your requirement there?
I'm sorry?
How do I summarise your question or your original
Oh,
question?
just for our own company, but also just have general
What's your
knowledge.
question? General knowledge.
Yeah,
For
okay.
when I'm consulting other clients.
All right. No problem. Thanks, Pedro. And I think the remainder are Excite employees here today. Thanks very much, guys. So what we'll do is we'll potentially come back, or we intend to come back to those at the end during the frequently asked questions. I guess who is Excite IT? Now we can, this part of the presentation is as boring as what this slide looks. We can sit here for hours. Many MSPs can talk to the same sort of capability and so forth. But I guess the way in which we model our business, just to summarise it, is we aim to give our clients the freedom to focus on what they need to do. That's their core competencies, their core business. If it's to grow the business, if it's to execute an IT strategy, if it's to manage a multiple of projects or a program of projects rather than just a single project. And I guess in the real world, we're either outsourcing for the purpose of skills, capacity in terms of additional resources, and ultimately, really, we probably have better things to be doing in our business. And so the last thing we want to do is outsource, and that outsource activity becomes a burden on us. And we model our services to cater and to ensure that our customers walk away with that experience of freedom. They don't have to focus on what they've outsourced with us. Today's agenda. Look, Brett will be, shortly after myself, Brett will be presenting about the trends in cloud and how Office 365 caters for that. We'll then come across to David, who will be talking about some of the Office 365 migration experiences that we've got, and also share some client scenarios with you where you can potentially apply that scenario to your own organisation. I'll then be going through some key considerations in terms of Office 365, and then tail questions and answers onto that. And finally, and it's the most important piece, and we've got quite a lot of content to get through, and I want to make sure we get to this point because it is very important, is the complementary readiness assessment that we have. It is very important that we cover this detail. It's very important that you guys put this into your considerations. But we'll get into more detail shortly. Hands up who likes Indiana Jones. I think this scene is from the Temple of Doom. I'm not going to talk to it just yet, I'll let it play. The title there is Use of Evolving Tools in an Evolving World. Look, a couple of things on that scene. That poor Arabian swordsman there that got killed, probably a relative of mine, God bless his soul. Look, he looked pretty cool in the beginning of that scene. He had some really cool skills there. The tool that he was using, his sword, seemed quite appropriate for the situation. It seemed like he had control of the situation. But lo and behold, we suddenly had someone else with a more impressive and efficient tool in that sense. And that was Indiana Jones with his gun. So there's 2 points here. The swordsman is probably equivalent to the guy that we all have this sort of person walking around the office, I'm sure. It's equivalent to the guy that's walking around the office and campaigning that they just installed Office 97 standard, not professional standard, on 52, using 52 floppy disks. And look, that may seem like a great achievement if you're not exposed to what else is out there. But then Indiana Jones, on the other hand, is probably the person that's talking about, well, guess what, I just reduced my level of administration on Exchange down to user administration, using Office 365, for instance. The other point that I wanted to raise here, sorry, too far ahead there. The other point I wanted to raise is in regards to the swordsman. Look, after a hard day's at work, he probably gets around to killing approximately 15 people a day, I'm assuming. Seems quite efficient in that sense. But at the end of the day, his sword would be getting quite blunt. I would assume that he would need to hire, I don't know by experience, but I'd assume he would need to hire a sword sharpener. And whatever, I'm not sure what goes in that JD or what that title reads exactly, but someone to sharpen his sword in that sense. And look, labour in old day Arabia may have been cheap, and he may have looked at that as being quite effective back in the day. But then you had someone like Indiana Jones. He would have approached his CFO or his accountant at the time and said, look, I want to buy a gun and I want to buy some bullets. The accountant would have looked at the P&L at the bottom and said, mate, look, it's going to cost more to buy your gun. It's going to cost more to buy bullets than it is to sharpen your sword. And at the same time, you're now suddenly outsourcing the manufacture and the maintenance of this of your tool. Whereas with a sword, you can keep it in-house and it's more cost efficient. But Indiana Jones would have had a different perspective. He would have thought, you know how much more productive I'm going to be here? Do you know how many more people I could kill per day? And suddenly he's thinking his business is going to boom here. And so therefore, the point I'm trying to do here and what I'm trying to get across here is the analogy that I've applied just here at this point in time. I know it's going to be a little bit different for you guys at Downer because you guys already have the Office 365 implemented. But what I'd like you all to do is to apply the analogies that are presented today into your own business without putting any sort of hurdles in the forefront of your minds there. Try and open up your mind to the concepts and how they can benefit your business there. But without further ado, I'd like to pass on to Brett from Microsoft, who will be presenting the next part of the presentation.
All right. Thanks, Bryan. I'm gonna steal your little video for my next presentation. That's a really nice message.